Don't be stupid, boys. Turn off Clyde, support your side.
I would like to leave this city. This old town don't smell too pretty, and I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. And when I leave this island, I book myself into a soul asylum, 'cause I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. So here I go, still scratching around in the same old hole. My body feels young, but my mind is very old. So what do you say? You can't give me the dreams that are mine anyway.
Good day, good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. You're listening to the Half the World Away Celtic podcast from Hail Hail Media. My name's Kevin O'Neill, and I'm based in Mandurah in Western Australia, originally from Courtbridge. And with us this evening, glad to be back, I'm sure, my good friend, Mr. Patrick Close. Good day, Pat.
Good evening, boys. How are we?
Not too bad at all. Now, joining us on the show, our first show back for the new season, I'm delighted to say we're actually joined by two more guests. Now, this could be a regular thing. We'll see how it goes. But you maybe remember that we're joined by Martin Kelly on one of the shows tail end of last season. So we're joined again by Martin this evening. Martin's in Melbourne. Good day, Martin.
Hiya, mate. How are you?
Very good, Martin. Yourself?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Very excited about tonight's show.
Oh, I'm sure you are with your glass of milk at hand.
Right.
Okay, but the fourth of the panel, let's say, tonight, as I'm delighted to say, I have to admit, all the way from Osaka in Japan, we're joined by Liam Carrigan. Good day, Liam.
Evening, everybody. How you doing?
Not too bad at all, Liam. It's great to have you on. So how do we say good evening in Japanese?
That would be Minasan konbanwa.
Well,
that's good evening, everybody.
Excellent. What about hail hail? Do we know that?
Yeah, it's a heru.
Oh, hairy.
So they just mix up the letters. Sounds exactly the
Say
same.
it in a Japanese accent, basically.
I like that. Right, okay. I think before we get into it, guys, I think I'd just like to, Martin, if you could just give a little bit of an intro. I'm not going to bore anybody that's listening with myself and Pat. But Martin, if you could just give us a little bit of a background to who you are, to what you do, to whereabouts in Melbourne you are, and a little bit about your Celtic connection, of course.
Originally from Glasgow, moved out here in '97. I've been in Melbourne in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne ever since. Originally from Glasgow and lived all over, so Partick, Maryhill and Govanhill, and then finally in Cardonald. Obviously Celtic fan from birth, as most Celtic fans are. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Good on you, Martin. Well, welcome back to the show, mate, and hopefully we'll hear plenty of you during this season. And so now I'll come over to yourself, Liam, as well. Obviously, this is your first time on the show. Hopefully, it certainly won't be the last. Hopefully, we can make this a regular thing, just depending on commitments, etc., because I know we're all busy people. But yeah, Liam, over to you. Can you give us, anybody listening or listening back later on, just a little bit of a rundown on who you are, what you do? We obviously know you're in Osaka in Japan, but yeah, if you can just give us a bit of a background to yourself,
Sure.
Liam.
Well, basically, I've been living out this way for about 7 years now. I was in. I came out here 2006. I was in Tokyo for 2 years. Then I moved down to the south of Japan to a wee place called Okayama, and then I went over to Hong Kong for a couple of years. And I just came back to Osaka 6 months ago, and I've just last week started my new job. I'm a school teacher over here now, teaching at a junior high school.
Excellent.
And anybody who reads the Celtic View may remember a couple of years ago I wrote a couple of articles for the Celtic View, because a long time ago I used to be a journalist back in Scotland, but not anymore.
And who were you a journalist for, Liam?
I was freelance. I started it when I was 16 as a copy boy with the Herald, and then I did a bit of stuff for the Evening Times, the Herald, and I'm ashamed to say I spent 1 week doing a work placement at the Sun as well.
Can you cut him off, Pat?
Can cut him off, yeah. I don't think I can block him. Unbelievable. I reckon he's talking piss, Kev. I reckon it was Airdrie Coatbridge Advertiser. Let's not. This guy is just talking mince. Seriously.
Liam, it could have been worse. It could have been the DR.
Well, I'd never worked for that rag.
Yeah, exactly, mate, exactly. Well, listen, no, thanks for that bit of background, Liam. And as I said, it's great to have you on the show. I think when Pat and myself were kind of talking about starting this thing up, or we try to go it alone, the intention was always to try to make it for this kind of sector of the planet, I suppose. It wasn't just to be an Aussie-centric thing or that. We wanted to make it for anybody in this kind of relative time zone, I suppose, where we're all half the world away from paradise, I suppose. So it's great to have your own representation representing Japan, and hopefully if there's anybody else in the kind of Asian area, I guess, or the Eastern Asian side of the continent, or of course our friends in New Zealand as well. We'd like to get you guys involved as well, because we've got good representation now, I think. And yeah, just hello to everybody back home, I guess, as well. And you're always free to join in and tweet us and things like that. Now, I might as well mention that. And last season I got this wrong all the time, but I'm going to give it a go here. And Pat, you correct me if I'm wrong again.
I'm waiting.
But very, very soon, no doubt. As usual, guys, you can if you are listening in live just now, or you can send us your tweets on anything at all, really. But we do have a bit of an agenda that we'll try and work through. But you can send your tweets to @halftheworld88. So anything at all, you can slag us, you can ask us questions or whatever you want. You can try to Skype us if you wish. Although we must give you a little caveat here, because once we get to maybe maximum 5, we have some issues. So given that we've got 4 on the show already, it might not be such a good idea tonight. Or if you're in the chat room listening on speaker, you can leave some messages in there, and I think Pat will maybe try to keep his eye on that.
Yep, we've already got a couple of guys already. Now, Kev, we've got Kralski's online. He's on the chat room already, and he's he's saying that Liam, we have to cut him off. He doesn't like this mainstream media stuff. So sorry, Liam, mate, but yeah, your cards are marked already.
I think
For
Liam
God's
did
sake,
say
it's been 8
definitely
years since I did anything in the mainstream, you know.
definitely ex-journalist Liam, yeah.
We've also got Big Stuart on Twitter as well. He's already tweeting saying 3 guys in Australia and 1 guy in Japan chewing the cud about Celtic. Where we link, so thanks for that, big fella.
Good on you, Big Stuart. And Kralski, good to hear from you as well. And Craig, I think, is again, he sent us a couple of messages earlier on wishing us good luck for the season and stuff. So these are some of the regulars from last season, guys. So good to hear from you again. Hope you enjoy the show. Right, without how far have we gone so far, Pat? Because these shows usually go on forever, and we've not even really started yet.
We're 10 minutes and 42 seconds according to us now. We should point out to everybody that we were still planning on making this like an hour and a half tops is what we said, so that's the real challenge. So our agenda, we do have it, but we are going to blast through it, aren't we, boys?
We're going to try. We're going to try.
Tumbleweed.
Turn over a new leaf, but we'll see how we go. I must say, because it is a Thursday, I don't have my Heineken with me tonight. I don't have any beer, so I might not waffle as much as usual. But I can waffle anyway with or without the Heineken, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, right, without further ado, guys, I'll give a little bit of a rundown what we're going to try to cover tonight, because there's quite a lot. We'll just have a brief what we all got up to during the close season, the Pat close season, as you put on the little menu. But I like that, mate.
That's pretty good, isn't
it? I see what you did with that.
Yeah, I see it. That's clever humour, that.
Quite impressive. Just in case anybody doesn't know, Pat's surname is Close, so that's the jape there. We'll talk a little bit. Obviously, we played Elfsborg last night. Thank God we get through that. We'll come on to that shortly. We'll maybe touch on Mr. Mo Bangura. We'll maybe have a little chat about him. We could maybe spend a little bit of time talking about artificial surfaces, because we encountered one of them last night. A very brief spiel on the Green Brigade, because it's been covered quite a lot and they've been in the headlines again recently. We're going to talk a little bit as well about a Celtic TV. It's one of our topics we always seem to get onto in this particular podcast, against other online viewing methods, I suppose. There's a couple of new football kits. Celtic kits have come out for this coming season. What do we think about them? The pre-season up to date, and some other things as well. We'll see how we go. So if that sounds okay with everyone, let's find out. Pat, you've been a busy man during the close season. What exactly did you get up to? Do you want to share it with us?
Well, I was actually thinking that today. It seems to always close season for the club. It didn't seem to be for me. I was doing Celtic stuff pretty much all the way through the summer. So for those
right, time up. Let's move on to the next segment.
For those that don't recognise the voice, I was Chris McGuigan asked me to do the little sort of intro thing to the Lost Boys, the Lost Boys history, which again we should give a bit of a plug for, because if anyone hasn't listened to any of them, and I doubt there'll be many people on Hail Media that haven't listened to at least one of them. They are absolutely spectacular, and it's not because I contribute about 0.5% of it, but it's been an absolute education listening to some of those. So we also had over here a little bit of work for the Celtic Graves, which we won't sort of talk too much about it, because we'll probably get Jim on maybe in the next show or two, where there's some of the work that Jim does. There is an Australian twist to one of these stories, so that's quite an exciting little project for us.
You're such a tease, Pat. Such a tease.
Well, can't really give too much away at the moment, because there's other families not involved and all that sort of shenanigans. So we'll maybe talk about that in a couple of weeks' time. I also had the pleasure the other night of meeting with Tommy Burns' daughter, believe it or not, who was in Melbourne. A girl called Jenna Burns, who her and her friend Joanne are touring Australia, or they were living in Australia. She was here for a couple of months, believe it or not. So only found out about it when the week she was leaving. So I don't know if that's convenient for her or not, but she had some cracking stories about her dad and some of the old players and stuff like that as well. So yeah, it hasn't really stopped. It's been pretty much hectic from go to war, I suppose. But anyway, that's my summer.
Very busy. Before I come to Martin and Liam, just Craig's tweeted in as well, just saying he's got us on in the background while his gaffer nips his ear. But he's also said if we'd be so kind to give his new site a wee plug, celtsarehere.com. Now, Craig, I'm not going to plug your site, seltzerhere.com, mate, because that's ridiculous. We've got our own sponsors on here, Heineken, etc. So if anybody wants to visit seltzerhere.com, please do. Craig will be a happy lad. Right, anyway, I'll come over to yourself now, Liam, if that's okay. What did you get up to this close season?
Mostly job hunting. I was working for a particularly crappy company over here, and I was lucky enough to land a new job finally a couple of weeks ago, and then I just started last week there. So that's it mostly. I managed to catch a couple of the pre-season games on a dodgy feed, and team's looking good, but no convinced about a couple of the new signings.
Oh, that's a good call. We'll maybe come on to that later on as well, Liam. What about yourself, Martin? What did you get up to?
I'm struggling to come up with what I did, apart from we did some work around the house and I put in a new kitchen, but that's not really going to be that interesting to most of the planet.
Please do tell us more about your new kitchen.
Well, mate, it's quite nice. It's shiny and it's white, and we got a nice glass splashback, and got it painted, and got a Smeg. Actually, I got a Smeg oven and extractor fan, so I'm very happy with that. And a French door fridge. So that's probably the highlight of my close season.
I must admit, guys, mine. I've tried to have as big a break as I could from the Celtic stuff, other than my usual daily catch up with trying to keep up with anything that's going on. But I must admit, it's the first close season that I haven't bothered getting up at stupid o'clock to watch the pre-season friendlies and things like that. I didn't have the oomph to do it this year for some reason. Even the Cliftonville game, I must admit, I wasn't inspired to get up to watch that, which sounds terrible. But the bug's back again. As soon as the Elfsborg game, the first one was coming up, for me that was kind of the start of the season in my eyes, I suppose. So I'm right back into it again now. But I've enjoyed the break, I must admit, guys. But can't wait for this season again. But hopefully things click into place for us. So I suppose on that, let's talk about it just now, guys. The Elfsborg game. First of all, now whether did we all manage to see it? Is, I guess, the first question. Who did? Who didn't? Right, Martin, you didn't see it, mate. No. Disgraceful.
Thank you.
What about yourself, Liam?
I managed to catch very brief highlights this morning, but no, I didn't really see the game. I mean, it was 3 o'clock in the morning here, so it wasn't really an option.
No excuse, Liam. No excuse.
No, Liam. Yeah, you're soft, Liam.
All right, that's me tell.
To watch it.
Well, Pat, looks like it's me and you, mate. Did you watch the game, Pat?
I did. I braved it. I got up at about 3:30 in the morning, so it was a tough rise, I've got to tell you that one. Didn't get to bed till a bit late, but anyway. Someone tweeted to us, that's dedication. And when you're waking up at that time in the morning, I think, no, that's just stupidity. What the hell am I doing here? But I don't know about you, Kev, but I was absolutely cacking myself for the game. I was very nervous.
I would agree.
Absolutely very, very nervous. But look, from what I saw, some stuff on Twitter, look, there was some people really bagging the club. And look, it wasn't a great performance, but I don't know. I reckon a big part of that was down to the surface. I don't think there was, not that there wasn't anything you can do about it. I just don't think they cope with it that well. And I know, like I've played in AstroTurf myself, and I was actually getting a bit frustrated because I can remember when I played in AstroTurf. I'm talking 20 odd years ago. 1964, when I was 30 then. I always remember like the coaches and stuff like telling us just like, play the ball to the man, don't play it in front. Because if you haven't played on them before, it's really hard to judge, and that's what Celtic done. They're professionals, and they shouldn't be doing that. They should, it's really hard. They're playing the ball through to guys to force someone to run onto the ball, and the ball just run out of the park because it catches. It doesn't slow down like on grass. The ball just keeps going. It picks up the speed pretty much on the way, and it was really, really frustrating me that they just never for the whole game just got on top of the surface. They never just got to. They got in touch with it. It was just, I found it really odd that, they do training in AstroTurf. I don't know if it's called AstroTurf these days, but
I think they call it, yeah. I think they
3G
refer to it
pitches.
as Astro Grass or something like that.
Yeah,
I think I heard
well,
them refer to it as now, but
you know what I mean?
because
It's just, I think it was, we'll maybe come up and talk about it a little bit later as well, about the artificial side of it, but I just reckon it was, there was a few sort of, I wouldn't say standout. I thought Kelvin Wilson played well, I thought Lustig played well. We never really looked troubled as such. We created a couple of good chances, but
I wouldn't agree there, mate. First of all, you're saying you were cacking it. Now you're saying we weren't troubled. I was cacking it at one stage when they had that. There was a stramash in the penalty box, and the boy tried to backheel it. Now, if he connected with that or the other boy running in, I mean, that was quite getting late on in the game. And if they'd have scored then with about 10, 15 minutes to go, I couldn't see us being able to change the way we were playing at all. I don't think there was any way that there was any signs of us being able to up a gear or anything like that.
Yeah.
They'd have taken a real kick on
right.
from that.
There were no options. There was no other options. Like they had that sort of team out. There was no one that could come out and play like in a different position that was going to change it. So they had to stick to their guns. And I think again, I saw someone tweet today about that was a perfect way to play a 6-4-0. Craig Levine take note, because that's pretty much what I'm never ever convinced with Samaras as a standalone sort of forward. It's worked once against Rangers, but is it worked since then? I don't know. It's just it just wasn't working for me. They couldn't get the ball. I think that part of the problem is they couldn't get coming out of defence. They couldn't get control of the ball, and especially in midfield. And they were closing down really quickly. To be fair to them, they were closing. They weren't giving us any time on the ball. But I just think it was the fact that we just couldn't get to grip with the actual surface of it. So the ball was running away from us, and every time we got the ball anywhere beyond, probably halfway through our own half, we just lost it. It was either going out of play or we're messing up the passing and stuff like that. So I'm not going to be too critical on the fact that it was a difficult sort of surface, but I mean the result, the bottom line is they were 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks ahead of us in terms of fitness, sharpness, and I reckon that was part of the first leg. I think the first half they just looked a lot sharper than us. But ultimately, the result, we just had to get the result. We had to grind it out. And I think, who was it? Not Gary Hooper. Virgil van Dijk. He was the one that I think he tweeted right after it, said, it was a grind. They just had to get the result. And that's all it was about. Just a case of getting over there, get the result, come home, look forward to Friday. So,
I mean, I thought it was poor. I thought when we got to half time, Lenny would give them a rocket and we'd see a different approach to the second half. And I think we did for about 30 seconds. And then it just went, they reverted to what they were like in the first half. And to me, Elfsborg were up for it. I don't agree in as much part that the surface had a huge part to play in. I didn't see that at all. And again, we do train on it, and I think even they'd been talking about this pre-match that it shouldn't be that much of an issue because they train on that kind of surface themselves. So I just thought Elfsborg they looked hungrier for it, they looked better organised for it, they were closing us down. All the type of stuff that we should be doing to teams like that. And I'll tell you something else. Talking about you mentioned Samaras earlier on. I was really disappointed with his performance because it reminded me of a Sammy of old performance when I was really annoyed with the guy. And I mean, I do. I've grown to. Love's maybe a bit too strong, but I do. I really like Sammy now. But I saw glimpses of old Sammy last night where he was. The head was down. He looked a bit lethargic, and he was looking to get off. I think they did say he was maybe doubtful prior to the match, so maybe that had something to do with it. But I just it was just very, very disjointed last night. Very disjointed. The amount of times we gave the ball away needlessly, not under any pressure. As a Geary, it was a bloody nightmare.
I still think a lot of that was down to the surface. So you look at how many passes that just went beyond the player, and that's what I'm saying. With artificial surfaces, I reckon anyway, you have to play the ball to feet. You have to play the ball to the man. It's not like on grass where you can play it in front and he runs onto it. You can if you're used to it and you know the sort of the weight to put on a pass. But if you're not used to it, then stick to the basics. You just like get the ball to a player's feet, and that's what they were doing. If you look at it, the stuff they were doing, there was not all the time, but there was a lot of the times they were just playing the ball to the feet. But now and again they play it over the top for it to run onto. But obviously they've played on that surface, 100 times, so they're far more used to the weight they have to put on the ball. We just weren't. And I reckon that was, I guess a bit of a failing on our side that we should be, I thought that was a failure. And I'm not an expert. Lenny's obviously, the team coach and stuff like that. He knows far better than me. But there was just too many of that in the first half. And I thought, surely somebody can see that. Get the ball to feet, and then sort of move from there and just see what happens from that point. But you're right. Samaras was ineffective. He was didn't look interested. He was but again, way out of position though. I don't think he likes.
No, I would agree. I don't think he enjoys that. He's definitely more effective on the wide on the left and coming inside and things like that. Because he plays that position for Greece as well. So, and I don't want to just single out Sammy. For me, there was plenty of players underperforming. I thought Brown was anonymous for most of the night as well. And as I mentioned as well, I thought Azagiri was bloody awful at times. But anyway, I suppose we don't want to dwell on it too much because poor Martin and Liam never really got to see too much of it either. But
no, Kev, they didn't bother their arse getting up for it. Let's cut to the chase here. They couldn't be bothered getting up. Part-time supporters.
Well, I didn't want to be so harsh, but you're spot on, Pat.
Right, but if I'm going to argue,
what kind of Celtic fans are you, boys?
Spoke for about 10 minutes about how shite the game was. I got sleep. You watch shite football.
But
who's the smart one there?
I'd still watch my darling beloved Celtic and avoid the sleep.
I think we win that one, Kev. I think if Martin's trying to say that having a good night's sleep over watching Celtic progress in the Champions League, what would you have taken, Kev?
Exactly, mate. I think why don't people tweet us in? Who's better, Kevin, Pat, or Martin and Liam? We'll find out.
Well, Kralski's already tweeted in, and he agrees with me. He reckons a lot of it was down to the pitch as well, which was his exact words were, I think the pitch and their advanced season was a huge leveler. Not the best performance, but the result matters. Onwards we go.
Yeah, fair enough.
So he's with you and I think.
And I think you
don't think yeah.
No, I don't think it was as significant. I just think it was. We maybe, I don't know, we were just a bit casual in our approach to that leg. I wasn't impressed with them Elfsborg at all in the first leg. They impressed me slightly more at their home ground. They did have a very good good record.
So some guy, Mailboy, has just tweeted and said they agree with Martin and Liam. Now that Mailboy, I wonder who that could be. There's no name attached to it, so bit of a fake name.
What can I say? I agree with them as well. So there, see, that's three of us.
How have you got time to be tweeting, Martin? You need to focus here, mate.
I never watched the game.
He's got plenty of time up his sleeve. That's why he's plenty of time up his sleeve because he's got nothing else to do.
Right, guys.
Right, and I when I got up this morning, I looked on Twitter, and there's all these comments. Oh, we played terribly, blah blah blah. I'm still happy we went through. I will take that any day. I think MD who lived through the Tommy Burns era, and you know what? I got really sick of getting beat playing beautifully. Not saying that we don't try to play beautifully, but you know what? We're through to the next round. Let's take it.
And on that note, I think that's a good note to move on, actually. But Alistair Jacks tweeted in as well, folks, and we'll maybe come on to this just now, but Alistair says, how many signings do you think that we're going to get or are going to come in before the window slams shut, as they always say, I suppose? Liam, I'll come to you first. In terms of the number of signings that you think we need just now, or potentially guys still coming and going, we know we've lost Big Wanyama and Hooper, and I think there's no doubt that they're massive losses as far as weakening the squad goes, but how many signings do you think we need, or positions, and I guess more importantly, how many do you reckon we will get in? What do you think?
I reckon we need at least three, because when you think about it, Wilson's gone, Wanyama's gone, Hooper's gone. That's like that's striker midfielder, that's the spine of the team gone, right?
Yep.
So you need at least three in. Actually, while we're talking about that, there's a wee player in Japan that I think Celtic should be looking at. A wee guy called Kakitani. Has anybody ever heard of him?
No.
No.
Sounds like a good name though.
Aye, well, plays for Cerezo Osaka, right? I'm gonna tweet a YouTube video of him, right? And this boy is something special. I mean, he's not quite up there with Nakamura, but he's definitely got the potential. And
what
he's
age
not really
is he,
known
Liam?
outside of Japan now, so I think he's 23.
Okay.
He just last month he played his first games for the Japan national team, and they had a wee kind of diddy tournament called the East Asia Cup, which was basically, I think it was Australia, Korea, China, and Japan, and Japan won it, and he was the star player.
Okay.
And so I'm just tweeting that just now. And
Well, I know that Neil Lennon listens to this show every week, as does
well.
John Park. So, Liam, what's your Twitter handle for anybody that wants to follow you,
Oh,
mate?
sorry, I forgot about that. Aye, it's Liam. That's LIAM 6783.
Good on you. Right, tweet away, and it'll be interesting to see that, because by the sounds of things, he fits the Celtic signing profile as well, and we know that some of these deals can be lucrative. I know that when we went down the route of Koki Mizuno as well. Remember Koki?
Aye.
That one unfortunately never really turned out for Koki.
I don't
or
think
for
he ever
Celtic,
really
I
got a chance,
suppose.
to be fair. You know, I
Nah,
don't think
he
he
only-
had a good run.
Yeah, he only flirted with the first team, I think, but he was definitely a regular in the kind of reserve team or the under 21s or whatever they were called when he was playing with them. But it's an interesting one, Liam, an interesting one to look out for. But we'll see. But I mean, yeah, you've mentioned there we probably need about 3, and I must admit I tend to agree with you. I'd maybe even go another one as well. Martin, what's your own thoughts though on the type of areas we maybe need to strengthen in?
I think we need to basically strengthen the whole spine of the team. Really, I think we need at least one back. Let's assume, Wilson's gone, Wanyama's gone, Hooper's gone, and then there's sort of some of the others. So like there was a name that I actually forgot, but Paddy McCourt, he's gone. I would think we'll go for probably another 4 players. I think the checkbook will be open now, and it was ridiculous the amount of boys saying, well, we should have bought before that. And look, let's face it, we've got through, but I'd rather have got through humping a team 4 or 5-0 than the 1-0 victory over 2 legs. But we're still through. I would think. I think probably to me, the big centre half, and also even just to give us some coverage there. That'd be probably my thoughts. But I think about 4 players would be it, and I think we'll do exactly what we've done. We're not going to go like some guys were talking tonight on one of the podcasts I was listening to about, going for a big name from England, maybe a Defoe. We're never going to sign. We may get somebody on loan because of the whole the Premiership only allowed X amount number of players type thing. But realistically, the entire business model is that we buy an experience and buy cheap basically and try and sell on expensive. So we're never. So I'd be very surprised if we went and actually bought a player. We might try and get a couple on loan and say, listen, we're in Europe, we'll stick you in the shop window. But I'd be thinking 4 and certainly a big central defender, and then I think we also need a striker. Do people know much about the boy we just signed from the Netherlands? Was it in the Netherlands? I don't know about him, but
oh, he looked impressive, and from the 20 minutes or so he played at was it who were we playing in bloody
Ross
Saturday?
County,
Ross County, Wraith Rovers, I'm saying, Ross County. He looked pretty impressive, but I've heard there's been stuff going around about that he's a bit of a sick note, and if he gets a little knock at all, he maybe goes down a bit like Andy Tom used to do a wee bit with us, and a bit of the Sean Maloney glass ankles type stuff. Now I hope to God it's not true, because he did look promising. He was cutting in from the left hand side. He's tall and he's fast, and he was getting into good positions. He had a couple of shots at goal, and I think he had a header as well. It just went past, so he was looking really promising. And then he went down. There was a ball played into the penalty area, and he went for it. There was a bit of a challenge came in from behind, very innocuous, but he went down, and he was kind of, you can tell his body language. He was just looking. He looked as if he was just wanting to come off, and not even give it much time to run it off or anything. So I just hope to God it's this sick note thing that he's been kind of tagged with or talked about isn't true, because as I say, he looked quite promising, but
And
Who
I
knows?
also
We'll
think
find
with
out.
$2.5 million for him, that's a fair chunk of cash we've handed over for him. So I think you'd want to have a fair bit of faith in the guys that have scouted them and everything. But look, I think let's give it a couple more games, and then we'll start making our mind up about him.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Martin. Pat, what about yourself? Your own thoughts on potential, the numbers of signings? Or I don't think we need to speculate on names at this stage, but in terms of our positions that we need to, do you disagree with anything with Liam or Martin said, or do you get any other thoughts?
No, I think pretty much along as what the guys said. So, I mean, for every one that's went out, we need someone coming in plus one or two.
Yeah.
And it's a real shame if Wilson goes. I mean, for me, it's probably been the best I've had for a fair number of years, and it leaves a fairly big gap. You take Wanyama out there, it's a gap again in the middle. And last night would have been, or early this morning would have been a sort of great game for him to play in. That sort of strong, sort of sturdy midfielder, just ain't going to take any nonsense and just closing players down and pushing forward. We just never seem to have anyone like that. They were actually, it was probably more the other way. They were pushing us off the ball. Chris, even when we had the situation where even Scott Brown was bouncing off Bangura, which is a fucking worry, and this is maybe one of our toughest, strongest, hardest players, and he was literally bouncing off a guy that was could barely even play in the under 21s for us. So
that's right.
But yeah, seriously, in terms of names, you'd like to hope with they keep talking about the investment they've made in the scouting network. You'd like to hope they've got someone not so much lined up, but they've certainly got an idea. Or let's talk about dossiers. They've got dossiers on players that are potentially available. And whether that's on loan, whether it's a young player that they're going to just snap up and sell on in the future, or whether it's somebody who's out of contract, one of these sort of more experienced. And Lennon certainly tried that for central defence a few times, and you think of Big Dan, okay, big bomb scare kind of thing. But I'm just saying, if you have an experienced centre back that's kind of leaving his club or out of contract, that maybe just wants another crack at it. But I know we're kind of speculating just now about people coming in, but I just think the way the club's going, I still think they're going to wait until the actual Champions League is won and signed and sealed. I just don't think they're going to go out and splash out at the moment until that's until they know the money's coming in. I don't know why. I mean, it's one of these speculate to accumulate things that you want to get somebody in, but in truth, I haven't even checked this. But when is the next leg? When is the next?
21st, and I think 21st.
21st. So you're talking what, 10, 12? So what, 13 to 2 weeks away, pretty much. So 2 weeks yesterday. So again, even if you do get somebody in, somebody even half decent tomorrow, are you going to throw them into a Champions League game when they might not be fit? You don't trust them. They don't know your way of playing. Are they going to do that? I'm not sure I would. Might have something like stick them. Well, maybe, that's what I'm saying.
The type of guys we need now are the type of guys that are first team players. They're not ones that are going to be, improve the squad or anything like that. We need guys. We need I know I said we haven't mentioned names, but one name that keeps coming up, but one name that I would quite fancy in there is this Alfred van Bogason guy, because you look at his goal scoring ratio, and that's for an out and out striker. That's what we need. This Baldy guy, I have hardly seen any of him, but to me, the warning signs are there when we were 0-0 at home to Elfsborg in that qualifier for the Champions League, and he's sitting on the bench and we're crying out for a goal, and Lennon still doesn't bring him on. That says a lot to me about Baldy's qualities as a striker. So we need a guy. To me, he's the replacement that Baldy is a replacement for Bangura in my mind right now. I hope to God I'm wrong, but that's the way I'm looking at that just now. So we need to get somebody in that's. I always remember Big Pierre when we had him. He always said, for him a good striker is somebody, and he was always there or thereabouts, 1 goal every 2 games. That's what you really need to be getting very close to, and that's what we need at Celtic. That's what Hooper gave us, and that's what we need to replace. Now, of some of these names, Kevin Doyle as well, it keeps getting mentioned. I used to really like Kevin Doyle as a player, but I think he's past his best now, and I think the wages would have to pay Kevin Doyle. I think we can get better out there. I just don't see this $5 million that we're getting quoted as maybe the price tag around Finn Bogason's neck. The thing that frustrates me more is Celtic, they never seem to speculate to accumulate in past seasons we haven't had mega bucks coming in. This season we've made a lot of money on some signings here, and there's still this reluctance to open the biscuit tin and spend some money. And I take your point, Pat, and I agree, because I think it is the mindset. But we need, one of these days, we need to speculate to accumulate, because I'll tell you something, we need to improve 300% on that performance last night in this final playoff game. Now, some of the teams that we could play in there, one of the boys from our Mandara CSC had put up the names. Some of them escaped me, but I think we've got like a Legia Warsaw and teams like that in there. Austria Vienna are another potential. Now, we're a seeded team. These are unseeded teams. But bloody hell, I wouldn't fancy playing these teams at all based on that performance last night. And again, I don't think it would take too much for us to bring in hopefully some quality players. Let's face it, we've known Hooper's been going for a while. We've known Wanyama's been going for a while. Okay, Kelvin Wilson's come up a bit later on in the day. But in my mind, I would make it a full house in terms of what you guys are saying. That spine has got to be strengthened, and it's got to be a 1 and 2, 1 goal every 2 game striker is a must. We need a strong midfielder, and I would say we need 2 centre halves, because given Big Van Dijk's hardly kicked a ball for us, I know he's a promising player, and he was in the Dutch kind of league team of the year last season. I thought him coming in playing alongside Wilson would have been quite a good thing, but that young boy's coming on with a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and to me the thought of him playing alongside Effie Ambrose as our central defensive partnership going into any game, if we lose Wilson, frightens me. So I'd be actually looking for 2 centre halves, and maybe another 1 or 2 signings. It sounds tragic to say it, but again, we've known we're going to be losing players, and I'm so frustrated that we haven't strengthened more, because the way it could easily pan out just now is we're faced with Europa League. And then it'll all be why didn't we spend earlier? Why didn't we spend? You could see it potentially happening. I hope to God I'm wrong, but I'm not overly optimistic just now, just with our previous season signing records.
Well, actually, let's just ask this one. And again, I haven't checked this, but the fact that we're into the actual qualifying stage of it, does that mean that we would automatically go to Europa League even if we lose?
Yes, yeah. This next game, we had to get past Elfsborg, so we're staying in. We'll still be involved in European competition.
So surely you'd be saying, well, there's a minimum would be, we're in Europa League. Well, we don't qualify for Europa League, do we? Do we have to do another? We have to do a qualifying?
No. If we get knocked out, we're straight into the group stages of the Europa League. So
sure, is it not something to do with qualifying? There's a qualifying stage for Europa League as well? And I've got
a feeling European football till Christmas, basically. Whatever happens, that's confirmed.
Maybe it was the last round. I'm sure there was one of the rounds that if we lost, there was a qualifying stage for Europa League before you actually get through to it. And I think it was against not very strong teams. But the reason I'm asking is wouldn't you have thought that there's going to be a minimum amount of money you're going to bring in? So you're going to just say it's 5-6. I don't know. Just say 5-6 million from Europa League, right? Yeah. If you get the Champions League, it's going to be anything up to well, we got 20, or just say we don't qualify, but just say we get 15 million from that. So somewhere between 5 and 15 million you're potentially coming in which case, go out, we aren't in debt. Go out and spend the flipping money, because there's going to be a certain minimum that you're going to bring in. Just go and do it. If it does take 4 million to get Finn Bugasin, just spend the money and go and get him. Because
was that Finn Bugasin? Finn Bugasin, was that there, Pat?
Yeah, he's Irish, isn't he? Finn Bogason.
Finn Bogason, that's him.
Aye.
Finn Bugasin.
Finn Ogason. But what I mean, just go out and actually spend the money and do it, because the bottom line is, you saw from last night, we're certainly weak in a fair number of areas. I mean, with a lot of injuries last night, but don't get me wrong, but central defence just again is a fairly critical part of it. If you're going to play in Europe, we need 2 strong, reliable, trusty centre halves. And as good a player, and I still think Ambrose is a good player, a guy who's off form, but I just, even now, I've been a supporter of his, but just watching him now, it's like, my God, please just get the ball away. Just don't do anything fancy. Just get out of the park, get it away from you, just get it away from anywhere near you. Because he just looks as if he's going to get caught every single time.
Yep.
There's never a stage where you actually look and say, it's all right, he's got this under control. With Wilson, you've got that. Yeah. But, so yeah, I mean, right across, front to back. But simple fact is that it's not a lot of time to bring in 2, 3, 4 players and to bed them in, if you know what I mean. So it's not. I mean, it's 2 weeks away, and okay, you might even if you get 1 or 2 players in, okay, you stick him on the bench if he's not quite match fit or doesn't quite know the system, or he's basically been running around in flights trying to get the deal sorted out. Then I don't know. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, and I think Lennon's come out and said he's looking at getting a few guys in the near future as well. So
I mean, and I've no doubt they will, but it's all about the timing thing, because I still, for the life of me, can never understand this thing about we've got this opportunity to make a bit of money, and whether it's going to be in the Champions League or whether it's going to be in the Europa League. Let's not forget we knocked out Benfica out of the Champions League last season, and they got themselves to the Europa League final as well. So who's to say a little run in that competition wouldn't be a good thing for us? But we all know ourselves, we want to be in the Champions League. That's the thing. The Europa League's second best. But yeah, who knows? But I just hope we make some more signings in pretty soon. But as a minimum, we've got to replace Hooper's goals and Wanyama's strength in the middle of the park, or it's going to be squeaky bum time for the next few weeks, guys. I think in terms of this final playoff game for the Champions League.
Anyway, thanks for Alistair for tweeting that in. That was probably took about 20 minutes to talk about. So the clock's ticking, Kev.
It is.
We're up to 46 minutes already so far. We were going to finish it within an hour. We've got Buckley's of finishing this within an hour, so let's move on.
Right, I'm going to change this. I'm going to change the subject. Do you want to talk about him?
I want to quickly talk about Mo Bangura, just from the
Pat,
previous...
will you start us off in Mo Bangura, and we'll let Martin and Liam gather their thoughts on this man, and me, I suppose. But yeah, on you go, Pat. Is this going to be a rant?
No, it's not a rant. I'm going to summarise it. You are not welcome, buddy. Stay where you are.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yes,
I'm sorry, but
interesting point of view.
From the 2 games, that dive in the home game is one of the most ridiculous things I have ever seen. Yeah. And these are guys that he would supposedly call teammates.
Right.
And last night did the same thing again. There was a slight hand, I think it came up from Scott Brown, even though he was behind Scott Brown trying to tackle him. And sure enough, over he went. And if that's the way he's going to play, you're either for us or against us. And he's obviously against us. So anyway, that's the end of my rant. You're not welcome back, buddy. Stay where you are.
What do you think, Martin? Mo Bangura, what's your thoughts?
Look, my thoughts are, and I've just came back from taking a phone call from work. My thoughts are, he's getting paid by another club. He should go out and give his all for the other club. We sent him on loan. However, I would have had part of the contract. He can't play against us. That's my thoughts.
I think, given the team that he went to, you'd have looked at that and thought, what are the chances of us meeting this mob at all? So I can understand why it was never even dreamt of to put it in as a clause in the contract.
I disagree with you, Kev. I don't for one single clause in a contract. It's a few words on a piece of paper. I think it's a massive oversight by the club to do that. Massive oversight. And I don't know if it's part of normal contracts to actually put that clause in, or whether it's just a gentleman's agreement. I don't know. But I would have thought, fundamental, if you're putting someone out on loan, you stick them in and say, okay, well, if we meet in any competition. Because, they win the Swedish league last year, so why wouldn't there have been a potential for us to play them? Of course there's potential. They're champions of their country. We're champions of our country.
The only thing I would say is coming out of, realistically, we've put them on loan because we don't rate them that much, right? And to me, we're putting them out there to put them in the shop window and hopefully somebody else buys them. So I actually thought, more of my thoughts were, well, you're going to do yourself as a service. Let's be clear. We're trying to punt him. So he actually will do himself better. If he came and scored 3 goals last night and put us out and was the darling of Europe, he's doing much better for himself than he is not playing. So actually, I thought that was probably a wee bit silly. Where I think we made more of it than could have been. I think it should have been all right. Play against us. Do we really care? Sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
No, like there's ways to do it. Like you show a bit of respect. If you're out on loan, you have to show that little bit of respect for the guys that are so-called teammates. But to do the whole gamesmanship stuff and taking dives when there was clearly nothing there, that's way over the score. And as I said, when it comes to that sort of thing, you're either for us or against us, and he was clearly against us. He was out to get somebody sent off. I'm not saying he went out with the mindset, but he took an opportunity to get one of our players sent off. Luckily, it didn't work, and he did it on 2 occasions, in my opinion. Not so much the game last night, but if you watch back, there's a whole thing with, I'm sure it was Scott Brown, and it was a flying hand. I think he was kind of falling back, and he's just taking a dive, as if, I've just been punched in the face. Mm-hmm. The one at Parkhead is as bad. I reckon. What was the AC Milan keeper? Dida, was it? The guy that took a dive with the supporter. I reckon it was far worse than that.
Ooh.
I reckon it was far, far worse than that, and he gets suspended for it eventually by UEFA. Anyway, that's the end of my rant.
Liam,
not welcome. Stay there.
What do you think yourself, Liam? Have you got any strong thoughts on Mo Bangura either way?
I mean, I think that you're right in saying that that. All right, the chances of us playing Elfsborg a few months ago, you would have thought were pretty minimal, but. It's it's contract law. Celtic were asleep at the wheel there. They really have got to cover every angle, and there should have been a clause saying he can't play against us, because this whole thing should never have happened, really. But also, I think it's kind of sad that in the day, cut to the chase, he was pish. He was not a Celtic quality player, and that's why he's not with us anymore, and that's why he will never come back and play for us again. And really, there shouldn't have been this level of fuss. You think about it, in the SPL, how many Celtic rejects or guys who didn't quite cut it play against us every week, and we never make any fuss about it. And that's what Bangura is. He's a Celtic reject at the end of the day,
Yeah. No, my thoughts on it, I suppose, are very similar to Pat's. I think that his manner, whether the guy was allowed to play or not in the game, that was a side issue. But just the way he conducted himself on the park in both legs, I thought he was ridiculous. Again, last night he was. There was the incident. There was two incidents with Brown actually, because there was one later on in the game part where there was a bit of a clash between the two of them, and then Brown kind of squared up to him as well, and it was needless. And the guy was after the first leg he came out and he said he wonders why everybody was booing him and it was against him and things like that. The boy didn't do himself any favours in the first leg, and then he went out with a silly mindset again last night and did the exact same again. So he's not. I totally agree with Liam on this as well. The guy's not Celtic quality, so he should never come back to play for us again. I doubt he ever will, to be honest. I think it's done and dusted. Whether or not he played in that game or not, I don't think it was ever going to be in question. He's going to be off because he's just not what we need. But the guy never did himself any favours last night, that's for sure.
Well, see, to be honest, that's probably just that's another sign that he isn't a Celtic class. If you're a guy of limited ability, you're going to use every dirty trick in the book to try and level the playing field, and I think that's what he was. That's why he resorted to that, because he knew he couldn't compete with us on his ability alone.
Yeah, in a way I agree with you, but try to get guys sent off. Guys that are your teammates.
Listen, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right at all. But what I'm saying is that if you're a guy of limited ability, some guys will resort to that level because it's the only way they can compete.
Well, Kev, I think we've raised a bit of a sticky subject for some people out there because we're being joined by someone. If you look on your site,
you're good. Yeah. Oh yes, it's our good friend, Mr. Krauski Donsky. How are you, Krauski? Can you hear us, mate? Oh, you might be able to hear us, but we can't hear you unless you're just giving us the silent treatment.
He has got a scary picture, which is,
Well, anyway. Maybe need to... Krauski, maybe hang up and try again, mate, and we'll see what Pat can do there, but we can't hear you, unfortunately, buddy, just now. Maybe try again.
Can I ask something?
Of course you can, Martin.
Are we still paying some of his wages?
Good question. I wouldn't know. I mean, my understanding of most loan deals is that the other club picks up the entire wage. And I'm pretty sure I did read somewhere that their manager, that was partly the reason why he was saying he would be playing him even before the first leg, because they are the team that's paying his wages just now. So my assumption on that is that Elfsborg are paying his full wages. I wouldn't imagine he would have been on a hell of a lot just now, but it might be a lot of money to a team like Elfsborg.
Right. No, look, that was just part of it, as, you know, if you know, and there's been a lot of deals where, you know, they pick up half the wages or something just to get them off the thing, and that's just was a thought, but no, all right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Kralski, are you hearing us now?
You got me now?
Got you now. I can hear you loud and clear.
Just before Kralski jumps in, Jim Kinlan's trying to give us a quick call as well. Jim, we can only take probably 5 on the call. Can you just hang up and give us a call back in a little bit?
I'll be short and sweet anyway.
Right, Kralski, put your point across, mate.
2 points.
Super scoreboard style.
2 quick points, Jim.
Yeah,
2 quick points, Jim. Bangura, right? So I don't know if UEFA allow a clause in a contract in terms of a cross-border clause which would allow Celtic to ban. I'm not sure if that there's a domestic ban that automatically happens domestically. So if, let's say, we loan somebody to Hibs, there's an automatic ban that stops that player from playing against Celtic. I don't know if that can be included into a contract. I don't know. I think Celtic, if there was any room to do that, I think that's Celtic's fault. That's no Bangura's fault. I was quite happy. I thought it was quite bad for Celtic to turn around and say, listen, you can't play against us. I thought that was quite bad because, as some have said there, we've pretty much rejected him. We've said to him, right, on you go, you're not playing in your first team, so on you go. So from that, I thought it was quite bad that Celtic were saying you can't play. I was happy enough for him to play because, again, as we said, we've got the potential where somebody will see him go, hold on a minute, he's a better player. Well, we'll buy him off Celtic if Celtic don't want him. So that was obviously one of the perks of it, you know what I mean? But definitely, with Pat says, see his antics at Parkhead, absolutely atrocious, and he shouldn't be welcome back. And you said yourself, obviously, you had that one right at the end of the game, and it caused a bit of a ruckus.
Yeah.
2 seconds, pal, on the phone. You've got the ruckus at the end of the game involving Brown. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much him going back to potentially being his captain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's wanting to start it and cause it and getting people sent off. Nah, don't come back, pal. I agree with that. Don't come back.
Mm-hmm. Nah,
so, and just I thought it was a bit harsh. I actually felt a bit sorry for him in the first leg, but when I saw that, well, I felt sorry from the fact that he's put in a bit of an awkward position. He's the guys that are sort of paying his wages at the moment, but he's contracted to the team he's playing against. So I had some sympathies, but there's ways you conduct yourself, and I just don't think the way he did it was right. And that's the way I looked at it. It was like you're either for us or against us. You know, you think of Larson coming back, with Barcelona and stuff like that, scoring against us. There's that element of respect for the guys that you played for before. And not only did he have no respect for the fans, not that we sort of really accepted them that much, but he had no respect for the guys who were his teammates.
Yeah.
His peers, aye. Mm-hmm. I can only ever remember this happening once, where a player in European competition is coming back to play against their team while being on loan, and that was Morientes. Who was it Morientes against? Was it against Real Madrid?
Monaco, Real Madrid. Aye, the commentators on Satana mentioned that last night, actually. Yeah, Morientes, and he knocked...
Not do it when he was at Barcelona and maybe a German team, but like that's going back decades ago.
Who was that?
Mark Hughes. Did he not do it when he was at did he not do it when he went to Barcelona?
Who was he playing against? Was he against United or something?
No, it was against a German team. I think he went on loan to a German team. Look, I could be so wrong about that.
All right, aye.
I thought he maybe, but I'm talking about that'd be obviously 20 odd years ago, easily.
Aye. Mm-hmm. Well, as I say, Bangura for me, I kind of agree with everybody. Everybody's got good points in the whole situation, but overall, I think if we could get money for Bangura, then take it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
One last point. We're obviously just going on about Ambrose and all that, just to kind of add this one in, right? I'm not sure if anyone kind of really. I think Ambrose is getting a bit of a disservice from Celtic fans in a wee bit, because see, whenever Ambrose is called upon, he's there. If you think, he's played in the African Cup of Nations, he's played in the Confederations Cup, and anytime he's back straight into the team. And I also think he's getting played at a position, because if you remember when we first signed him, Lennon said that he sees him as a central midfielder, but he's playing in centre defence. And not only that, when he plays for his country, he plays in right back for his country.
When he first arrived, he started quite well, Ambrose, but I don't think the guy's been the same since he came back from that African Cup of Nations. We all remember the Juventus game, and there's always in every point in a game he'll do something that you're kind of at the edge of your seat, or you're thinking, oh Christ, he got away with that. So yeah, maybe I'm doing him a disservice along with plenty of other Celtic fans, but I think he's a bit of a bomb scare at times, and I'd be looking for another centre half.
Sorry, boys, just I'll cut in there. We had a few network problems there. I don't know how long we were offline for, but yeah, Kralski's gone. Liam's just dialing in again, so a few little network issues there with Spreaker and Skype and stuff. So apologies.
Can you hear me all right now, guys?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
If you've got speakers on there, Liam, can you just turn them down a little bit, because we can hear ourselves talking.
Yeah, about that.
So yeah, so sorry about everyone. I don't know what happened there, but yep, Spreaker or Skype, one of the things just went tits up.
So does that mean all those salient points I made on Effie Ambrose have just been canned? Then we missed all
absolutely,
that.
Absolutely. I'm just wondering whether it has something to do with the network thing. That was with the. That was 3, 4, 5 was on a call, so
yeah, I think
I'm not sure it's something to do with that, but yeah, but Kralski's kind of been disconnected, I think. So, but yeah,
you got to make his points anyway. So hopefully, yeah, you can tweet us back in or something, Kralski, as well, if you disagree with any of that. But nah, you made your points well as ever, mate.
I was just checking, just as a side note, I was checking stuff on Mark Hughes, and Marty's maybe on the right track, because he was loaned from Barcelona to Bayern Munich.
Okay.
So I don't know if he's actually. There's nothing there about whether he actually played against Barcelona at the time, but yes, we need to do a bit of checking on that one. So Marty could be right.
Look, as I said, it's something from the dim and distant past, boys. And look, I've never been known for my wonderful football knowledge, but there's something there that tells me now, yeah, it could be well wrong, and we'll accept that. If I am.
Right, guys,
right.
We'll move on again, if that's okay with everyone. What about these new kits? Right, we've got 2 new Celtic kits out just now. The home strip and the away as well. Now I know, Martin, before I show you were saying you'd only seen one of them. You hadn't seen the other one yet. I don't know if you've had a chance to go online and have a look. I've certainly seen them. Pat, you'll have seen them.
Not seen them live. I've seen them in pictures, but I've just not seen them live. That was my comment.
Ah, right, okay. Well, I don't think any of us have seen the away strip live at all, if that's the way you want to put it yet. We've just seen pictures of it. But and Liam, have you seen the new strips?
Aye, I have. I actually think the design's all right, but I'm not too happy about the way it seems to have been designed specifically around the sponsor. You know.
Mhm. That's the home strip you're talking about, or the away, or both?
Aye, those sort of pinstripes. It's basically to incorporate the Magners logo, isn't it?
It looks like it. I mean, the way they're saying it's seven little mini hoops in one big green hoop. But I'll give you my thoughts on them in a minute, I suppose. But I mean, what do you think on them then yourself, Martin? on these
Look,
new kits that are out?
I like the solid hoops. All right, I think we've got an iconic top, and I'll be honest, I would stop screwing around with it personally. I think we've all, I think, got our favourite tops, and there's certain ones you like, and certain things you don't like. And I'll be honest, I like the one from the centenary year with the sort of grandad colour, and then that was sort of brought back for the Seville type one. But to me, stop pissing it, boys. We've got an iconic top. It's known all over the world, and look, it's because of what it is, the green and white. It's never going to be that solid, sort of fashion statement type thing. But I actually quite like that, and I like it that if you walk down the streets, people know you're wearing the hoops, and it's iconic. And to me, stop pissing around with it. Stop. I would like to see the new one in person, because it's funny, because everybody I've seen it with pictures really didn't rate it. But a couple of people I've heard on podcasts have said, no, I've now got it, and it looks quite smart. But to me, stop pissing around. The yellow one, again, I'm not a fan of it, but I'd like to see again. If it is that the sponsor has got us to break the hook, or got us to do the 7 little ones, I don't rate that, and I don't think that's a smart move by the sponsor either, because if it pisses people off, people aren't going to you do it, but you do a sponsorship to build a relationship with the fans and to try and generally sell more stuff. It's not a smart move, but yeah, to me, we love the hoops for a reason, so leave them alone.
Pat, what do you think on these new strips we've got?
Bit of a mixed bag, really. I've seen the away strip. I think the yellow one. In truth, I'll be quite honest. I quite fancy yellow away strips. I think they look quite smart. I bought the last one from I think it was the Scott McDonald kind of era. I can't remember the actual year of it, but and I think maybe it's the Australian thing, the fact that Australia played in similar sort of colours. I don't know if it's that sort of thing either as well. But the home strip, I wasn't sure about it when I first saw it. And then Celtic did this thing about, I think they'd sort of 10% off and free international delivery and all that sort of stuff over a certain value. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take a punt and buy it. And now that I've got it, let's put it this way: when I brought it home, I sort of got it delivered to work. Sort of come home from work, opened the bag, took it out of the bag, and my wife came in. She goes, "Oh, a new Celtic top." She went, "Not sure about that one." That pretty much sums it up for me. I don't mind it, but it in truth, the fact that I've bought pretty much every set of hoops since I was a kid is pretty much the only reason I bought it. Yeah, and that's being totally blunt with you. If I was choosing now, I'd probably say I wouldn't buy it. It's not. I didn't buy any. I normally buy stuff for my kids at the same time. Yeah. And I chose this time not to. It just doesn't. Yeah. It's not as much. It's not an iconic Celtic top.
No.
Not for me. So the yellow one I'd like to have a better look at. I do. I actually don't mind the yellow one without the sponsor. I bought this one without the sponsors as well. I just if I get the chance these days, I'll buy it without sponsors. I just like it that way. But the yellow one I think would probably look better as well without sponsors. But I probably wouldn't buy it if it goes on sale at the end of next season. I might buy it for wearing around during the summer months, that sort of thing. But I'm not going to. It's a lot of money, and this is actually one thing I want to try and point out. And I'm still on Celtic Superstore's case. When you buy stuff from the Celtic Superstore from outside Europe, you're not meant to pay VAT, but online they still charge you VAT.
You tell them, Pat.
I would ask them. And I've emailed them, and what they did is they said, well, what to do is just if you want, you can either do two things. You can, pretty much what I chose to do is I buy the stuff and then you claim it back. So I bought the stuff, put it on my credit card, sent them an email saying, all right, where's my refund? And I've been waiting about 2 weeks and I haven't had a reply. So just anyone who's outside Europe, keep that in mind. If you buy stuff, you're meant to be either not charged the VAT or you're meant to be refunded the VAT. In theory, and it actually says it on the website. If you go in there and look at it, it says if the delivery address is outside the UK, you will not pay VAT on this. And it used to do it. Last year it did it, but for some reason this year, when you put in select Australia for delivery, it automatically doesn't take off the VAT. So just anyone else, keep that in mind. Anyone from the US, Canada, wherever. When you're buying stuff, just keep that in mind. And if you don't believe me, just do a search on Google. Just do Celtic Superstore and VAT, and you can find the link there, direct link. But if anyone needs it, I'll find it again and I'll send it through to them.
Fair play to you, Pat. Very informative, mate. Very informative.
Pat's right. They used to do it automatically. You'd just get your 17% off or something.
Yep. And I know VAT. Well, I think it's changed from what I remember seeing some news report. Is it not up to 20% or something now? Something like that. I don't know if I'm sure it increased, but again, I haven't been back there for that long. I can't remember. I think that was one of the excuses. It's now like 50 odd quid, just for 55 quid or something like that for the top. But yeah, so just someone's from Hail Media. I'm not sure who's tweeting from or who's messaging from there, but yeah, it's 20% for VAT now. So you should in effect get 20% off the price of that top. So keep that in mind, anybody. And I'm still on the case, and I will report back next podcast to let you know what they've said. But
you as the man, Pat. You as the man.
That's my money. Oh, it's a gaffer. Oh, Josh is listening in. So yes, he's tweeted and said it's now 20% VAT. So everyone keep that in mind.
Good on you, Josh. Haven't heard from you for a while, mate. So please feel free to join us again one of these days on the show. My own views on the new kits, fairly similar to your own, guys, to be honest. I do quite like the yellowish one, the away kit, but the home kit, it's starting to grow on me, but I'm still not overly keen on it. I really liked the last home kit we had with the narrower hoops. I think that's one of my favourites for a while, actually. But this one, the little pinstripe hoop thing, it just doesn't matter what slant they put on it and what it's meant to represent. It's, as you said earlier on, Martin, it's just not the proper hoops in my eyes. So I doubtlessly will get it at some point. I've got my parents coming over from Scotland in November-ish, if my old man gets his finger out his arse and books his flights. So I'll probably wait and see if they'll bring me a wee prezi over, and that's what it might be. But for the same reasons as you, Pat, I always like to get the hoops when they come out. But it's more out of habit than really liking that particular top. So maybe it'll grow on me as well. But I'm not overly keen on that version. And again, I'll say it again. I don't know how difficult it must be to create a bit of a competition when a new strip's going to be designed. Just come up with 3 or 4 options, put it out. We've got the social media now through Facebook, through Twitter, all of that stuff, Celtic. Sort yourselves out, come up with 4 designs that Nike have pulled together, put it out to the fans and let the fans decide what they want to go for, rather than all that shite we got with... How long was it when we saw that strip? We'd all seen images all over the bloody internet, and then they did this ridiculous build-up to showing you these little teasy snippet pictures on their Facebook page and stuff, Celtic. We all knew what it was going to be like. It was farcical. But again, to me, that's that whole disconnect with the fans. John Paul Taylor's in there now, and hopefully things are going to start improving. Albeit we've heard what's happened to the Green Brigade recently as well, so that's maybe not going the right direction. But for simple things like that other clubs do, I cannot understand what would be so difficult in doing something like that for future kits. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Well, guys, as well, we're now at... It's 20 past 8
73 minutes, Kevin, 73.
73, okay. We'll see how we go. What I'd like to do is maybe we've got maybe do a little bit of a look ahead to this weekend. The season has started. We've obviously had the Champions League qualifiers that we've spoken about, the Cliftonville and Elfsborg games. We've also kicked off the Scottish Premiership. How farcical is that? But anyway, that's maybe a story for another day. So we got our victory against Ross County, but we've got one of these friendlies again. So it's like a not pre-season friendly, but a friendly at the start of the season coming up this weekend against Liverpool in Dublin. Now, again, is anybody... It's live on the telly in Australia, I know that. It's on... I'm pretty sure it's on ESPN in Australia. I don't know, Liam, would that type of game be broadcast in Japan at all?
Probably not, to be honest. I mean, I don't know. I've not actually checked, but I'll usually just pick it up online somewhere anyway. So
yeah. But I mean, what's your thoughts? Well, first of all, let's talk about, I suppose, the game itself. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing playing one of these friendlies when our season has actually started and we've got an important game, or certainly another important game coming up in the Champions League? Do we like the idea of these friendlies? Is it worth it, or should they be scrapped? I'll come to yourself, Martin.
Look, I think unfortunately we need to go where the money is. Really, I think we need to concentrate in the league, but to get a chance to go over and play a match in Dublin and reward some of the fans over there, and to try and get to try and put a dent back in where so many, I believe, Irish kids are now going around with Premiership tops on rather than Celtic tops.
Yeah.
I think we need to do that, and I think we also need to reward the boys that get on buses for Dublin and Cork and everything and drive over every weekend or every second weekend. So I think it's important we do that. I think it's important we raise our profile. And realistically, if we're getting paid, and I've got no idea what the figure is, but even if it's $500,000, that's an awful lot of Select tops being sold to profit on an awful lot of Select tops, or a profit on an awful lot of season tickets to be sold when it's pure cash in the bank. So I think we need to do it. I think it's probably the wrong time because the season had started, but because the Scottish season does start early, I think we need to take a punt and just say, listen, this is what we're going to do. We will always play games. We'll do that because the English Premiership teams, they're generally, I know Liverpool was out here a few weeks ago, and they're going to Asia to make as much out of that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, I suppose. But I think it's
that's a big yawn, man.
Keep you awake, Marty, are we?
It's 10:20 here now, mate, and my milk's finished. No.
See, Martin, I could understand you yawning if it was me that was ranting, but you were in mid-speech there, mate. You're boring yourself rigid.
I've got to listen to me all day. Of course I'm boring myself rigid. I've seen another tweet from somebody else saying they agree with me and Liam as well, from a Martin Kelly 73. So I think I'm getting a groundswell of support here.
You're just opening up new Twitter accounts to keep tweeting in.
Possibly.
What's your next one? Try Kelly Martin the next time as well. 73. Kelly Martin, go for that.
No, that's my cousin.
Oh, Jesus. Pat, what's your thoughts on these not pre-season friendly things as well? You get similar views to Martin, or do your views differ?
A bit of a mixed bag, really. Yeah, I kind of agree with a bit of what Martin says in terms of the other clubs. They've been doing it over in sort of Asia, Man United and Liverpool and these sort of guys, even touring Australia and just giving some back, I guess. But and look, it's not that far away. It's you're talking a quick flight over the sea. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm not sort of too fussed about it. It's good PR for the club in Dublin, and if you listen to sort of Harper talking on the Homeboys and stuff, and he'll say that you'd be amazed even when he went to live in Ireland, he thought everyone would be Celtic fans, but they're not. So most people would be Liverpool fans. I think sort of the estimates they'd made was that it was going to be I think it was something like 60-70% Liverpool supporters at the game as opposed to Celtic fans. So but I mean, it's good sort of PR. If the money is good, fair enough. I think I'd have been a bit more annoyed if it was between Champions League qualifying stuff. But the fact that it's what did we lose again? It wasn't St Mirren? It was St Mirren. That is a St Mirren game, wasn't it? That's the one we missed.
St Mirren game, aye.
Yeah, and it's been rescheduled because Jim Goodwin, fanny that he is, but complaining about it like a month ago. But anyway, so yeah, like I'm kind of a mixed bag, mixed feelings about it. It's one of those kind of, you want to give something back to the fans, but like the guys in Dublin will have a great day. I think it's like a 4 o'clock kickoff or something as well, so they'll be on the tops from flipping early morning. So probably half the guys won't even see the game. They'll be down Temple Bar and like, Christ, there's a game going on. I will just watch it on the telly. You know what I mean? So so kind of mixed feelings about it, really.
The two of you have kind of touched on points there that it's never been a surprise to me that the English Premiership's always been bigger than the Scottish League or Celtic for that matter in Ireland. But I mean, we'll always have and we always will have a a huge support in Ireland, but there's a very simple reason as to why there are so many Liverpool fans, Man U fans as well, and it's the simple reason is before there was Sky TV and things like that. In Ireland, you always used to get shown Match of the Day. That was your football fix. So they never really got to see Celtic games in Ireland at all. So everybody knew about Celtic, and if you were to speak to somebody, like I've got cousins over, and the reason I know it's obviously I've got family over in Ireland, over in County Mayo, and my cousins over there, there's a few of them on one side of the family that they're all Celtic fans first and foremost, but there's other relations that are Man U diehards. Now they're Man U fans. If you ask them their second, everybody will say, of course we're all Celtic fans, but their first team is a Premiership team, and it is your Liverpools, your Man U's, your Arsenal's, your Chelsea's, and it's for the simple reason that's what they used to watch. That was the football or the soccer that they got on television growing up. You really had to have that huge Celtic connection, or be steeped in it through family connections or whatever, or went out of your way to try to get to see Celtic games, to make it easy to be a Celtic fan in Ireland at the time. It's different now, obviously, with Sky coming on board and Satanta as well showing the games. So yes, of course, we've got massive support in Ireland, and we always will have, and it'll grow as well. But in terms of the brand, before Sky TV, it was always English football that get thrust down their throats. So it was very easy for that generation, probably people around about our age, that were Premiership fans rather than Celtic fans. So in terms of the Liverpool game itself, I agree with Martin. It's one of those things. It's worth money to us, and it's good for our image. I'm sure there'll be a kind of worldwide audience as well. I'm sure the likes of Liverpool TV will be broadcasting it as well, so you again get exposure to the Asian markets and things like that, I suppose. So in terms of our profile, it's a good thing. In terms of the prep for our season and the timing of it, it's not the best, because again we've got this playoff coming up, and I would just hate to think, I don't know the kind of team that Lenny will put out. I'd imagine it's not. We're going to see a few fresh faces. I doubt it would be a really strong team that we'll put out, because he'll have 1.5 eyes on that playoff game, and God help us if we were to get a couple of key players maybe injured in the game. But I think it's great. It's great that it's in Dublin. It's great that it's going to have a television audience, and as many people from around the country will get there to see Celtic as possible. So it rewards our Irish fans over there as well, because they go to a lot more effort than us getting up at 2 or 3 in the morning. To be honest, they're setting off at ridiculous times in the morning to get to Celtic Park, and then they're heading back after the game or the next day. So it only takes me setting my alarm, like last night at 1:30 in the morning, to watch a game and then go back to sleep. Whereas these guys are away for an entire weekend a lot of the time to see Celtic. So I hope it's a good game, and it's a good advert for us. And I hope we stuff Liverpool. But that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah,
what about your own thoughts on it?
I work next to a Liverpool supporter, so I'm fairly keen for Celtic to smack them. But
can't see it right enough, but you can always hope.
Well, again,
for
people listening overseas as well, is this is the sort of level you're talking about now. Celtic came to Australia a few years ago, played in Melbourne, and we got, what would it be, Martin? 20,000 or so? 20,
ballpark 20,000 sort of thing, aye?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just say it was 25,000, and like in truth, probably 80% of that were Celtic fans at the game, So Liverpool came here, about 2 weeks ago, Marty? And They played at the MCG, which is Melbourne Cricket Ground, for anyone who doesn't know, which is they play cricket there, obviously, in the Aussie Rules. That's the main stadium in Melbourne, and pretty much 95,000 sellout. So it was the biggest crowd Liverpool had ever played in front of. So that's kind of the different scales. And don't get me wrong, these are fair weather supporters or not. But there was thousands and thousands of them around the city.
And it's
so for the whole day. So
was going to say it sold out immediately because I had to try and get some tickets for work, and it was just nuts to get tickets. And it was one of those where everybody I spoke to thought they'd get about 60,000, and you could get tickets, even walk up, and it was something like 2 or 3 days in, totally sold out. Struggling to get tickets, sort of thing. And I think Pat's totally right. The comparison between the Celtic game was just day and night sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. In fact, that's something I'll maybe just mention, guys, briefly, because obviously, I know, Pat, you've not got Foxtel. Martin, have you got Foxtel?
No.
Right, okay. Well, I mean, the Foxtel coverage of the English Premiership over here is saturation. So basically, any Saturday or Sunday night, you can watch any English Premiership game you want. Now, that's more than you'd get even watching through Sky. You basically get the red button idea, and you can watch. So whatever English Premiership team you watch at a weekend, you can watch the game over here live. And it's not just a camera goes to the game. There's the pre-match build-up and everything. So there's a huge exposure to the English Premiership over here. We don't have that, obviously, for the Scottish Premier League. Again, as Celtic fans, we've got to go that little bit extra to get the game. So we still got Setanta Sports out here, but you need to go to it's an extra subscription. So it's easy to see again why we're not able to attract those kind of crowds for that. I guess that Melbourne comparison that you just gave there, Pat, as well, because we play in the Scottish Premier League, which is a inferior league. It's not got great exposure. If we were to be playing in the Premiership, I've no doubts that within a couple of years, you'd be if Celtic were to come over, you'd be playing to similar kind of crowds. I'm pretty certain of that. Liam, something that just struck me as we were chatting about that, though, obviously when Nakamura was with Celtic, we were led to believe that there was, quite a bit of coverage in Japan of Celtic games and things like that. Was that true? And also, now that he's left, is there any kind of coverage at all of the Scottish Premier League in Japan?
Well, it's funny you say that. Just today, I was out walking the harbour near my house, and a wee boy, about 5 years old, walked past me with a Celtic top on.
Get in there!
And the funny thing is,
he did really under his arm.
Well, Celtic totally missed the boat with Japan, really, because they cashed in on it to a certain extent, but not anywhere near as much as they could have. Mm-hmm. Like a few weeks ago, Arsenal played a friendly up in Nagoya, and it was like saturation coverage in the media. Everybody was talking about it. Tickets were sold out about 3 months in advance. All the kids the next day were cutting about with Arsenal shirts on. Mm-hmm. Really... Celtic, when they came and played that game in Yokohama just after we signed Nakamura, and it really, they never followed up on it. Within a few days of Arsenal playing there, they announced that they were opening shops over here, and they followed it up with a massive media campaign, and Celtic never did that. Japan's an absolute goldmine for a team like Celtic, because Japanese fans love, a kind of romantic story to go with the football, and. Well, there's very few stories more romantic than the Celtic story, right? But it really it's frustrating because now there's you occasionally see a Japanese guy wearing the hoops, and when I'm out wearing the hoops, occasionally people come up to me like, "Oh, Celtic, Nakamura, whatever," But it's nowhere near what it should be, and that is really sad. And I think that when we play Liverpool, it's maybe going to be the same thing. We'll go to Ireland, we'll play the game, we'll go home. Graham over at Beyond the Waves was going on about this when Celtic played in America last year.
Yeah, that's right.
Mates all wanted to buy Celtic tops and memorabilia, and there was nowhere to do it.
Yeah.
Celtic need to follow up on these things. The marketing department must be asleep at the wheel,
Yeah.
Well, I know when they came to Australia that they spoke to guys in our supporters club about some sort of agreement to sell merchandise in Australia. Now, I'm going to speak for the supporters club here, and I don't know this for a fact, but I would doubt very much that they've actually followed up and actually spoken to them since they left. So again, they came in and it was like, no, we are going to do this, and can you as a supporters club help? And I'm presuming they did it with other supporters clubs across the country. When they went to Perth and they went to Sydney, I presume they did the same there. They sat down with some guys and said, look, we want to try and promote the club. Because as Paul Larkin and the guys at Homeboys keep saying, look, we are the best advert for the club. We are the best salesman for the club.
Yeah.
Because there's no one in every corner of the world pushing the cause more than what the supporters clubs are. And again, they probably did it the right way, but again, that was it. It might have been Tony Hamilton actually that actually spoke to him. I need to check on that to be sure, but I think it was along the lines of, we want to sell merchandise, we need your help to do it. Can you help us? Can you sort of be part of it? And I know the guys in our club would have said yes. But then, I'll follow up with them and see what they said. But, same scenario, sounds the same as if we went to America, went to Japan. It's the whole thing starts, but then, they talk a good game. And I've asked this before. I don't know if you remember, Kev, when they came to Australia, they were setting up things like, like coaching schools and all that sort of stuff. We're going to set up a coaching school in Australia and we'll get all the best kids and stuff like that. Well, have you heard about it?
Oh, I mean, they did. They had I think it was. It wasn't that long ago. They had one in Perth actually. It was because one of the boys in their supporters club, his son went up to it. So yeah, I mean, they did do it, but it's very low key, and we only heard about it through one of the boys in their supporters club. There was certainly no mention of it in any media or anything like that over here. And it is the point that Liam made there about the frustration of it. Potentially we are a massive club because of that kind of romantic aspect to us, and as Celtic fans we all know that's the huge untapped potential that's out there. And I know that there's certain things hold us back about the league we play in and about TV exposure, and we do play in a country with a really small population and things like that, but we do really well and have millions of fans or hundreds of thousands of fans throughout the world despite all that. Just think what it would be like, if we were playing in a more attractive league against more attractive opposition and we were able to, I guess, attract the kind of sponsorship and the kind of marketing that your AC Milans can get, your Juventuses can get, and all this kind of stuff, and all your Premiership clubs as well, of course. I mean, it would be incredible.
Well, think about it, Kev. That's why
that we've got.
That's why the Champions League is so important to us, for that very reason, because that does put us on the world stage, and people do recognise you, and people do not acknowledge the fact. Because look, as we spoke about earlier with the hoops and stuff, we've got an iconic brand. We've got this thing that stands out. Well, we're not unique, obviously. There's other clubs with the hoops and stuff, but we've got this iconic brand, and the four-leaf clover and the Irish. I mean, everyone loves the Irish. It's just apart from some people in Scotland, but I mean, it's that.
And some people in England,
and some people, one or two in England as well, and one or two in Northern Ireland, and some in America. All right, so a lot of people don't like the Irish, but there's more people that do like that. What I mean? But we've got that sort of link with the whole Irish aspect of it. We've got an iconic sort of football top that stands out. Even if you do see a Rangers top, walking around the place, it just blends in. It's just a blue top. But you see somebody walking.
Dead club, one of those old dead
Sevco,
club tops.
I stand corrected. Sevco, yeah, Sevco. I do stand corrected. But what I mean? We've got that top that you can see it from half a kilometre away. There's a guy with a Celtic top way up the end of the street. You just it and you see it, and it's if you get into the Champions League, for the next 5 years, and you're at least getting to the actual knockout, the league's sort of section of it, then it does give you that exposure, and that's where it's we don't have that. We're playing the Scottish Premier League to hide behind, because if you're on literally, and it's literally the world stage, and everyone's going to see you, that just helps us so much, and that's what's going to kind of push us in countries like Japan and Australia and stuff, where for the local sort of soccer fans are going to kind of recognise us for that reason. You know what I mean? But we have to. That's why it's so important for us to get into the Champions League. It doesn't matter if we don't do that much in it, but actually being on the world stage and getting that exposure, because the Scottish League isn't giving us that.
No, absolutely not. No, and that's why it's key, and this is why it takes us right back to the conversation we were having at the start. We need to speculate to accumulate as a club to try to realise some of this potential as well, and make sure we are playing in the Champions League with a high profile and everything that goes along with that. Because let's face it, we've got a relatively decent bank balance just now. Just please, for God's sake, open the purse strings and let's get a few quality acquisitions in.
Yep,
Tony
Tony,
Cassidy, good
well
friend of the show. Tony has tweeted in to say Hail, hail, lads. The Celtic contact for marketing is at Martin Calla. I'm sure he'd give thoughts on the CFC global marketing issues. So I don't know if anybody wants to tweet Martin at the marketing. But
Kev,
I mean, it's good points that we've made.
Kev, we're looking for a sponsor. We're looking for a sponsor. So let's us get in touch with Martin. We could get sponsored by Celtic. We could get T-shirts made up with the Celtic crest on it, and half the world away T-shirts and stuff. So
I've got a feeling we won't be sponsored by Celtic. I think there's more chances being sponsored by Maserati than there is by Celtic.
I don't like your negative attitude, Martin Kelly. I don't like it. Come on. Show a bit of enthusiasm here. Come on. So anyway, did you see Tony's
sponsor us?
Right, if anybody sponsor us, we do have that fallback on my local fish and chip shop. So don't forget about that.
That's right. That's very true. Now I think we're getting to the stage of, I'm going to try to wind it up, guys, but we'll do the usual. Let's go around the houses and give some shout outs and things like that, and anything about your local supporters club. But should probably point out that in case it escaped your attention, this is Thursday in Australia and Japan, as well as back home. So it's not going to be a regular thing this Thursday. We are going to revert back to our usual midday Celtic Park time on a Friday. The reason we did it on a Thursday night is because Patrick Close is over in Scotland, obviously we called them season ticket holders, but in Australia you're called a member. You're an absolute member, aren't you, Pat?
I am a member, yes.
Of the St Kilda Football Club, which is an Aussie rules team over here. So you're going to the St Kilda game tomorrow night, Pat, aren't you? And that's why we had to do it on a Thursday night instead.
Yes, and I would apologise, but I'm not going to. No, because
you're quite right.
Look, I've got my membership, and there's only I think another 2 games I can go to this year. I only go to home games, don't go to the away games, because I refuse to give money to the other clubs. So
plus, if you came over to Perth, it's cost you a good few $100, mate. Plus, it's a 4-hour flight.
4-hour flight and about $4,000 in beer money probably. But anyway, so yes, my team plays tomorrow night at Etihad Stadium against the Hawthorn Hawks. My team. The reason I am making a point of going
pumped,
is that
mate,
my team are third bottom of the ladder at the moment. And
that's the league table for everybody back home.
Yeah, force of habit. The ladder, sorry, but yeah, third bottom we are, and the way I look at these things is that that's when your team needs you and needs your support. So I've been through thick and thin with the club, and that's why I'm making a point of going tomorrow night, knowing full well that I'll be left by half time.
Because you'll be getting pumped, mate.
I'll be getting absolutely humped, and I will not want to sort of see my team getting beat by about 350 points. So yes, but they might surprise us, but I doubt it very much. And that's why I'm doing it. So apologies to everyone who normally sort of tunes in on a Friday, but we will be back to our normal. Let's just say St Kilda aren't going to make the finals this year, unless all the teams above us get caught taking drugs, like Martin's team. Essendon, who are taking drugs, Martin?
No, they're not. And lads, can we put in an alleged there, since we don't all want to get sued?
No, they're taking drugs, Martin. The Essendon Bombers are taking drugs, and you know it, and it's in the papers, and everybody knows about it. So we'll face that when the next podcast, maybe, just for a little AFL roundup. Pat's team are shit. Martin's team are junkies.
Druggies. Oh, the junkies.
Excuse me, never been proven at the point, so I refute that until it's been proven. Just leave them alone. They're all doing fine. They're just being picked on. Because
to be fair to Pat, to be fair to Pat, you did actually say, Pat, earlier in the week that you would still do the show on Friday if we wanted to, just go out a bit later. And I thought that was admirable, mate, but it wouldn't have been very fair on you, because it would have been a ridiculous time of night over there for you. So that's why we switched it to the Thursday night, folks.
And
but yeah, sorry, Pat, what were you saying?
No, I was going to say, and that's thanks for the boys as well, for Martin and Liam for changing their life schedule around me. It's very, very kind of you.
Absolutely.
Right. Pleasure to be here, mate.
That's all good. Well, I think I'll now just go around you guys and just say, Liam, I'll come to you first, but if you want to give a little, I mean, is there anything that's going on in Osaka there in terms of, have you got a bit of a little, have you got a few Celtic mates around you, or what's the Celtic scene in Osaka, Japan?
Oh, not much at the minute. I'm working and trying to convert a few of my Japanese friends, but I'm sure there must be some people somewhere. I mean, there's a few Irish bars here, so surely there must be a few Celtic fans somewhere.
Well, get yourself in there and rumble them
I've
up.
been toying with the idea of trying to set up an Osaka CSC, so if anybody's interested, send me a wee tweet and we'll try and put something together. I'd like to. I know that the boys in Tokyo up at the Tokyo CSC, they're doing a great job up there, but going for Tokyo to Osaka, it's like going from London to Glasgow. It's quite a big distance. So, really, it'd be nice to have something down here in the sort of Osaka, Kobe, Kyoto kind of area.
Well, Liam, do you want to shout out your Twitter handle again? Your Twitter handle again, please.
Aye, sure. So the Twitter is Liam6783. Anybody's interested, drop me a tweet and we'll take it for there. I might try and if there's any interest, I'll try and get an email address set up for it and we can go for there. But we'll just see how it goes first of all.
Well, best of luck with that venture, Liam, as well. You never know, mate. You never know who could be listening or who passes the information on. So there might be somebody just living a couple of k's away from you, mate. You never know.
Anything's possible.
It's all good. And good on you, Liam. Thanks for joining the show tonight as well. It's been an excellent contribution, mate, and hopefully you will join us many, many more times as well.
If you will have me, I'd be happy to come back.
Absolutely. So, Martin, what about your good self, mate? Have you got any shout-outs you'd like to say or any little mentions or anything that's happening in your part of Melbourne?
No.
Oh, Christ, you are miserable. You're too tired, aren't you? You're yawning away there and you're needing to go to your bed.
No. There is actually, I think, a quiz night at the Jockstein CSC. Pat, have you got details of that?
Oh, for God's sake, Martin, don't start the story and don't think, Jesus. Have I got to do everything around here?
Well, aye.
Unbelievable. Yes, there's a quiz night before the Aberdeen game. It's on Saturday 17th. It kicks off. The game kicks off, I think, 9... Is it 9:30 or 9:15?
9:30.
9:30. So I think the actual quiz night starts at 7. So that's at the Pint on Punt. It's on Punt Road in Windsor. Not too far from the city. It's only like a 10, 15 minute, well, maybe a 15-minute tram ride from the city centre. So anyone who's in the area, pop down here for the quiz night. So just want to do a bit of a thanks for the guys in the club. So Sean Fitzgerald, Mark Burns, and Colin Turnbull. This was something I should have mentioned at the start. Actually, at the end of the season, we had a bit of a fundraiser for the Kano Foundation, and it was a Scottish Cup final night. So we managed to raise, just through guys in the club, around sort of $400 mark. Excellent. But what Sean and Mark and Colin have done is they pretty much have matched that plus a bit more. So they've pretty much rounded up to $1,000.
Oh, brilliant!
Which has been sent over to the guys at the Kano Foundation. So not a massive effort, obviously, compared to the money they raised at the weekend there, but I think it was £8,000 they raised. But look, it's just our little contribution, and really always sort of glad to help these things out. So Kano Foundation is, obviously a fantastic organisation, and just listening to the stories on Homeboys on Monday night is absolutely spectacular. Does give you a bit of a buzz. Again, it's a token effort. I mean, a long way from Scotland and stuff, and from Glasgow, but we'll sort of try to help out. And again, whenever I think they're having I think we're trying to arrange like a Kano day for one game each year or something like that. We'll maybe try and do the same, Martin, and just see if we can raise a bit of money for them.
Yep, sounds a winner, mate. Sounds a winner.
Yep,
sounds good. No, it's as the Kano Foundation. It's a great cause, and well done to everybody in the Jockstein CSC over there in Melbourne for raising £1,000. Superb effort by everybody involved.
Yep.
Pat, have you got anything else you'd like to add, mate?
No, just again, Chris McGuigan and his the Celtic History podcast. Just anyone sort of tune in, have a listen to them. They're absolutely brilliant. Some of them go on a bit. Some are like 2-3 hours long. Not quite our sort of podcast level, Kev, but in terms of length, but the actual
I was going to say, be careful your choice of words.
I know, almost there.
Almost level and length, mate.
Almost put my foot in it. But the quality stuff he does.
Well,
the quality stuff he does is brilliant. Like I remember when I was sort of chatting to him, because we were looking at setting up, things at the start. Now I was helping him a little bit with Spreaker and he foolishly said to me, he goes, "Well, tell you what, you can look after the logo for it." And I just went, "Are you serious?" I'd have to make the logo up in PowerPoint. It was it was just a challenge I wasn't I was never ever going to meet, but I said, speak to Josh Gaffney, and good old Josh come up with the goods and created a logo for them sort of within a couple of hours. So he's a good fella, and I think he's still listening in just now. So
he's a good lad, Josh.
Yep, but just again, try and listen to those ones and try and donate a bit of cash as well. I think he's, if you can donate £1 or, well, for us sort of neck of the woods, it'd be $1 or $2 for each podcast.
If it's
$10 or yen. Sorry, I do apologise. Yes, so we're branching out now, Kev. So, so anybody that can afford a little bit of cash to donate to it. I think he said they've got a couple of $1,000 already, pounds, already for it. So fair dues to Chris, because they are absolutely spectacular. And I think there's maybe 2 or 3 left to go as well. So and it's not too late to get your sound bites in, which were a bit of fun. Actually, I just want to say one thing about the sound bites. We spoke at one stage at the even sort of towards the end of the season about our podcast and why they go so long. And when I was doing these sort of the history, I did a bit of an interview thing with a few guys in Australia. Martin was one of them. Jim Kinlan was there. So just a few guys in Australia, and sent them off to Chris. Now, I had something like 10 questions that I was asking people. Now, you probably remember it, Martin. It was very kind of short. I basically asked the question, we had a pause, and then you gave your answer. Because he doesn't want to hear me in the podcast. He wants to hear all the fans. Now, everybody, I think the longest I had from normal, in inverted commas, normal people.
Are you talking about me?
About 6-7 minutes, right, for these 10 questions, right? Kev's went for about 20 minutes.
I always like to give a thorough answer, Pat.
These are sound bites. These are meant to be little short, sharp. Seriously, I was sitting there going, Jesus Christ! Now I know why the podcasts go for so long.
Well, actually, one of the most real experience I had was I was listening to the podcast, didn't know my bit had been in, and was walking around Safeway when I start talking to myself, and I start hearing myself giving my answers on the history podcast. So that is actually one of the most surreal things in my life, of hearing myself on a podcast that I didn't know was there.
Yeah, it was quite bizarre. The best one is Jim Kinlan. If anyone wants to, I can't remember which number it was, but the Jim Kinlan story for his Celtic confession was gold. So
was that the one he tried to get his leg over?
It was, yeah. It was. I laughed, and yeah, it was. I laughed at the time. Luckily, Chris managed to cut that bit out, but it was funny even hearing it back again. So fair dues to you, Jimmy boy. It was.
You need to dig out a link for that one and tweet it out there, Pat, and have the world away.
I can't even remember which number it was, but
Jim,
anyway.
I'm sure Jim will remember. And he can tweet it up for us, and we'll put it out there. Right, thanks, Pat. As far as myself goes, I'll give my usual shout out to anybody that's listening back home and there in Gobrass, CSC and Coatbridge, but also to anybody that's listening in either live or listening back later on to the Mandara CSC. It's growing from strength to strength, I have to admit. When we started this show, it was still an idea at the time, but it's we're doing fairly well now. We had an AGM there a few weeks ago, and there was about 20 odd people there, but we've got about 30, 40 odd people that are semi-regular over here in WA. We've got a lot of fly in, fly out guys. It's just the nature of some of the work that goes on in the state of Western Australia, but so we miss some of the guys that are members of the club, unfortunately, for some of the games and some of our meetings, but it's starting off really well. And madam, if you're listening, you'll be glad to know that we're very soon going to have our little Mandara CSC pin badges. If anybody's interested in following us on Twitter as well, have a look at the crest that we've got. One of the members, Kieran McCabe, who's a teacher here, he knocked up a really good crest for us. I'm a bit biased, obviously, but I must admit I think it's really, really good. It's at Mandara, which is spelled MANDURAH CSC. If you go on there and have a little look at the crest, let us know your thoughts on it. It tries to capture the whole Celtic ethos, but it's also a little bit of Western Australia in there as well, and a bit of local Mandara stuff as well. So Yeah, we're going to have pin badges made up, and we're potentially in Perth, I think in January. We've got the Wolf Tones are coming over to Perth, and Gary Og, I believe, as well. And we had somebody from the Perth CSC get in touch with us today to see if we might be able to host Gary Og down in Friar Tuck's, which is the pub that we meet in and watch the games in. So we're trying to make that happen as well. So we'll need to start spreading the word about that nearer the time. But
actually, Kev, have you seen the? I saw the tweet last night from the Wolf Tones. So they actually released dates, have they, for the Australian tour?
I think they have. Now, I've not seen the exact dates that they're obviously over here, but I'm speaking to some of the boys in the club. They've definitely said that they're in Perth in January sometime, so they must have got their dates sorted. I tweeted the Tones a little while back just to find out when they were coming over, and they said they were definitely coming over in 2013, but they just hadn't firmed days up yet. So I'm sure they'll be your neck of the woods as well, mate, and I'm pretty sure you guys will have them on if they are.
Well, they said it was I think it's 50th anniversary tour or something like that, and it was all they said last night on a tweet was that, we're coming to Australia as part of that tour in January. That's as much as was seen. Okay. So, but I didn't see, there was no sort of dates. It was just saying, it was one of those, keep your eyes peeled and for more information. So just a couple of quick ones, just in the forum there in the chat room was Toby Jug. I don't know if this means anything to anyone, but the Barrowfield CSC, it's the return of an old CSC risen from the ashes. So if that's a new CSC or just a new one being resurrected, so the Barrowfield CSC. And I should actually quickly mention, although my old supporters club back in Airdrie, Kev, which was
very well,
the Gormans one. So apparently,
very well.
So hello to anyone from the Gormans bus. But apparently, there's a new CSC in Airdrie as well, which is the Airdrie Neil Lennon. So big shout out to them as well. I think they leave from I can't remember the name of the pub now, Cellar Bar, I think it was, in Airdrie. So anybody in the Airdrie area that's looking for a CSC to join, but maybe look either the Gormans bus, which is I think still from the Wayside, and the old Black Bull. I don't know what it's called now, but down that area, the Imperial Bar. But big shout out to them.
Good stuff. Kralski has very kindly tweeted up the Mandara CSC crest there, so I've just retweeted it from the Half the World Away account. So yeah, please have a little look at it and let us know your comments, whether you think it's good, bad or ugly, but I like it, so get it up, yes. Anyway. Right, folks, I think that's pretty much it. Thanks to all two of you for listening. Thanks to Liam from joining us in Osaka. Did you enjoy it, Liam?
Aye, very much. It's been nice to talk with you boys, and I hope we can do it again soon.
Absolutely, mate. Good on you. And Martin, thanks again for yourself, and we'll definitely catch up with you soon, buddy.
Definitely, mate. Thanks for having us on again.
And Patrick, as always, mate, thanks for keeping us on track and pressing the buttons on the Spreaker system for us, because we wouldn't have this show if you weren't able to do that, mate. So thanks, Pat.
No tolerable. We haven't actually spoken about the next one, have we? We'll have a chat, I guess, offline about it. And
yeah,
I guess we'll probably stick to the same formula as last year, maybe every 2-3 weeks. Just depends, obviously, what's going on. Family commitments. We're a little bit late starting the season we'd actually planned, but just through work and family commitments, we were just a wee bit late starting. So apologies for that.
Well, Pat, Kilda won't be playing in September, so you've got all of September free.
It's all right, Martin. Half of your team will be in jail, so you won't have much to do in September either. So, but anyway,
and even if they were to be in jail, they'd still beat St Kilda. So let's move on.
Yeah, I'm not actually doubting that, but anyway, let's move on.
Okay, guys. Well, anyway, just we'll probably do the same as we did last season. I'm guessing maybe once a fortnight, but we'll definitely try to do the Friday slot. So it'll be usually midday, 12 o'clock Celtic Park time for everybody back home, and we'll sort ourselves out over here in our 3 different time zones. So. Yeah, from everybody at the Half the World Away podcast, hail, hail.
Take care, everyone.
Cheers, boys.
I would like to leave this city, This old town don't smell too pretty, and I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. And when I leave this island, I book myself into a soul asylum, 'cause I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. So here I go, still scratching around in the same old hole. My body feels young but my mind is very